Hello,
Hello.
Hello.
this is Doobies N Movies once more. I didn't think we were going to be doing one, but Google lied, and his Dark Materials actually came out last night. And yeah, it's a show that I care about more than I probably like it overall. But we'll see what these boys thought. I'm with Cuthy and Joel today. Joel actually made it on time.
I did, yeah.
Yay.
It's a rare thing. We'll try and do this every week for Start Materials, but I can't promise anything.
But yeah, okay, let's start with Cuff. What do you think of the episode?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Is needed to be what it needed to be. You know, just I wasn't expecting any crazy things, but nice slow build. You know, and then going to the new city, the mystery of the church, and all the children was done well. I love Will and Lyra's dynamic. I think that's working really well.
Yeah, that was
going to be the one thing that I said. I thought there was a couple awkward moments. I thought overall, yeah, really good, genuinely, but there was just a couple little lines that I thought between those two didn't quite hit. There was just a little bit of awkwardness. I can't quite recall which ones, but
I'll tell you one bit I hated. They find the two girls, or they first see the two girls, right? Lyra's
that's awkward.
And then Will comes round like a playground, right? You know when you're waiting on the other side of the spinny thing and you catch them on the other side. In year 2, you understand that mathematics, that if man runs around the other way, he's gonna trap us. But these two girls just don't even clock. Will's just ran around the other way, and he just comes around the other way like, ha!
Yeah.
It was literally like year 2 play.
I didn't notice that.
Play kind of thing. Oh,
There were a few scenes where it drew a bit like,
that
what
one
are you doing?
didn't land.
Is that like Leanna Mormont?
Yeah, when they find Leanna Mormont and her
Oh my god, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I was right about that.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I messaged last night saying, "Lol, Leanna
Oh,
Mormont."
I didn't realize.
But yeah, no, I liked most of the Lyra Will stuff because I felt like they did do well at like kind of two 13, 14-year-olds that kind of fancy each other, and they didn't make it too obvious. They made it seem quite friendshipy, but they did have those little seeds that, like, obviously they're about to go through puberty. They're alone, just one boy, one girl kind of thing.
I'll take the bed downstairs.
Yeah. I think they did all that stuff quite well. It was more the witchy stuff I wasn't that keen on.
Not at all. I mean, Lee Scoresby carried those scenes for me personally.
Yeah. I don't know about anyway. Anyway, Joel, go on. Tell me what you thought before I go in too deep.
I really liked it, honestly. Solid 8 out of 10 for me. I thought. There were a few little clunky moments. I thought they got it's Chitty Ghazi, isn't it? It's not Sitagaza.
Chitty
Ghazi.
I'm pronouncing it wrong at the time. I thought that they got perfectly. I thought the first shot you get when you just see it's when you have Lyra in that sort of cafe outside. I thought all of that captured it really well. It was pretty much exactly how I pictured it personally. I really liked the tone of it. And I liked all the stuff with the Magisterium as well. I thought Mrs. Coulter was great. It was a solid episode. It was a really good start to the season. I thought it was what they needed to do. I don't think they've upped their ante at all, really. And I know, Anthony, you've been saying they needed to do that with the next season. So we'll see if they can do that in the coming episodes. But I thought it was a strong start, to be honest.
I didn't like the look of City Gaza, personally. It looked nothing like I pictured it. I pictured it as like this coastal town.
I like that part of it, to be honest. I got to say, I like the city. I like the Spectre vibe. They did all right. It was purely for me that bit where Will corners the two girls that I found so cringy, like noticeably cringy, and then the witches. Serafina hasn't had enough to say. I don't want to diss the actor yet. But both the witches just felt so wooden. Ruta Skadi and Serafina, when they're having their debate, it felt so so BBC. It's just those it just becomes like BBC, and it's just like...
It was just cheesy. It was just cheesy, like plain and simple.
And then they almost had this cool fight with her, but then they kind of only had her beat up 2 people. I was like, you've almost gone into like... Because that was season 1, the action scenes weren't anything memorable. And it was like, is she going to see some witch pass some people up? And it's like, I guess you did a little bit.
I don't like the witch combat. It looks a bit... it's just... The whole Battle Vanguard last season was disappointing as well, so it looks like they're doing the same thing.
yeah, I don't think action is something that they're nailing at the moment. And it's a bit frustrating when you can see how well action is done on TV in every show. Like the templates are there to show people do some cool things. I don't know, like she did a couple spins and stuff. I thought they're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you on the action thing. I mean, my real one of my real problems with last season was the whole Yarek and Oifa fight. It was just awful to me. I thought they completely fucked that up.
Yeah,
Is that the bear one?
That's so sick in the books. The two bears when they're
it's even sick in the film. I've got to give it to the
It's
film.
even sick in the film, yeah. And it was such an anticlimactic fight. So I completely agree with the action scenes. Most of them I don't care about that much. It's not that action, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me,
when it builds up to the final battles, you want it to be sick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Bolvanga as well. You're right, Guff.
Especially with HBO behind it as well, you have the expectation of big climax. But
I don't know how much they make it though.
Exactly. It just feels like they do like the CGI shots and stuff. It felt very Games of Thrones. The city guards of you.
Yeah.
But I found the torture scene really good. Mrs. Coulter killing it as always. She just does the crazy so well. She's so good at being crazy.
They cast it well. I think the girl who plays Lyra is really, really good.
She
does all the little looks and all the little, like, she's got mischief, she's got a bit of sweetness.
And the guy who plays Will is fantastic.
Yeah, he's won me over this episode.
I think he's great. Yeah, so like I said, I found a couple of their little moments, but overall, I thought their relationship was done really well for the first episode.
Yeah, and it justified, actually, this is something I wanted to bring up, it justified bringing Will into season 1, because it meant they spent no time setting Will up. He was just...
Very true.
And so, it maybe did a bit too much on Will in season 1, but I do think that they put that the first few chapters of Subtle Knife in the first season was a good move.
100%, yeah. It's so much more climactic, the first, we start our story where it starts off, Yeah, and otherwise, I don't know what they would have done with that first episode. If they'd had to kind of introduce Will for the first half, and then they're kind of in City Guard. I mean, maybe there was just one. It would have been one episode. This would have been the second episode of the season. In the first episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Introducing.
And then you'd be waiting like, oh, Lyra just went through what's going on, all this stuff. So.
Yeah. I think it was a good move.
And they do like the trust thing quite well, because I do think obviously the show's got that childish optimism where you're going to trust someone probably more than you're not, but still Lyra is asking the alethiometer about Will, and I felt like that it's good they did those things where they didn't just, I'm sure like obviously it's in the book as well, but they didn't just have Lyra and Will become best friends. Like there was a sense of
that moment where the alethiometer tells her he's a murderer, but like Yarek, the good kind of murderer, that's definitely in the books. I'm sure I remember the analogy with Yarek.
And Liana Mormon does her job. It's funny that they got such random Game of Thrones actors throughout the season.
I know, there's so many Game of Thrones actors, isn't there? There's so many.
I found the kids a bit awkward at first, personally, but
yeah, no, I mean, they obviously, it kind of takes you out of it that it's Liana Mormon. For me, anyway, I'm just like, oh, that's the other kid in the other fantasy show. You couldn't have just cast any other kid. Yeah. No, I do. I don't know. I don't want to be too hyped or even negative about it, because I think that it could go either way still, and they're not convincing me fully yet. But it was good.
I agree. Yeah,
I think it was.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like the third book is so good.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if they can keep on this standard, I think they'll manage it. I think they'll manage to make a really compelling, interesting TV show. To be honest, they do need to up the ante a little bit. But I think I agree.
I know the way they're going right now. I don't think they're ready to handle the scope of the third book with all the world jumping and like the big battles and all this stuff. But I haven't got faith, as you say, like right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I had a question, but it kind of went out of my head. But no, it's hard. It's hard to kind of judge how they're going to handle a lot of the big stuff. And this season is when they're going to introduce a few more characters. Doesn't Mary Malone come in this season?
Mary Malone comes in halfway through the book. Yeah, absolutely.
Who's Mary Malone again?
She's a scientist in.
She's the snake. The prophecy. She's the snake.
She's the snake. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, It's not that many characters, I don't think, in the second book, really. I mean, yeah, we get Mary Malone, but it's the third book when we get like the what are the really little people called who
I can't remember.
communicate, and there's the gay angels, and there's
Gabriel.
And there's Metatron as well. Like there's so much in the third book that gets introduced. But like I said, I mean, it's just, if they take their time with it, if they take their time with the third book and just do it in 2 seasons or one very long season, I think they'll be able to do it, to be honest. You just do feel that the passion is there. That's the thing for me. It does feel like whoever's making this show, I don't know who it is, who's the main writer behind it, genuinely loves the books and really wants to do service to them. And I got that throughout the first season, even though I thought they made mistakes. So that's the thing that's really given me faith in the whole show overall. I think it seems like the writers genuinely love the book and they really want to do it justice, and they're making interesting decisions as well. They're moving things in it really is an interpretation, you know, in the best sense of the word, I think.
Yeah, I do think that they do give a shit about doing it right. It's just again, for me, a matter of just a unique perspective that seems to be lacking.
Well, I get that, but I feel like, if anything, there was more of that with this newest episode. I felt like there was a real vibe and energy to Chittigazi, and because I totally felt you in the first season. There wasn't that unique tone, but I feel like maybe they're figuring that out, and maybe they're getting that a little bit more. We'll see. Like I said, I love the tone and the vibe of Chittigazi. I thought they got it pretty bang on, to be honest.
Yeah, and on the whole, they've cast it well. Like, I'm not sure about the witches yet and Serafina, because Serafina's a really important character, and so far she seemed a bit underwhelming, but...
I don't think she's been given much to work with, though.
No, that's true.
Like, in all honesty. But yeah, you're all right.
I think...
And Moriarty's coming as Will's dad.
Yeah, right. That's true, because Lee's looking for him, isn't he?
Lee is looking for him, yeah.
And that's something that I reflect on. They did do Lee's relationship with Lyra well in season 1. They did do the concept that he cares about her and that he thinks she's quite special and that he's found his calling. They did that quite well. And they cast Lee well. That Hamilton guy, he is funny and he is quite good. I just felt like
he's killing it.
In season 1, I think the tone, they got confused a little bit though with Lee. Like, when he first started singing with the rabbit, it was like, what? This isn't a show that should have rabbits singing. And they needed to make that feel a bit earlier on, that there is wackiness too in this world. Sometimes there's a seriousness that even Game of Thrones, as dark as it got, still had this banter, like, just you know, like talk at the brothel and stuff. That was just a bit stupid. Do you know what I mean? And it gets you through the episode. I think that his Dark Materials is missing that a little bit.
I agree, and that's the thing with the witches as well. It just felt also serious and operatic and grand. And then you have their Lee there as well. I do agree with the witches thing. It's just it was too serious and too heavy and too, because it is a grand story, but it's also it's a very human story, and it's in some ways a lot less epic than something like Game of Thrones. In some ways it's a lot more epic. In some ways it's like the most epic book series ever, right, in terms of the content. But I think just in the way it's written and the tone, like it's a kid's book in a lot of ways as well. In some ways it's not. In some ways it's very adult subjects, but it's written so that you can read it when you're 10,
No, it is. I think that's something that they struggle with, because it falls in the middle category, right? Game of Thrones is adult and Harry Potter's for kids. And
right.
Middle ground where the tone's a bit harder to nail.
Totally.
But I thought they also, I don't know, you know how Jon Farr and stuff, they're quite big characters in the first one. In a book, it's easier to kind of leave them behind. In a show, it feels a bit more, I'm trying to think, that was the question I was going to ask earlier, actually. It leads into it nicely. If I hadn't read the books, I would probably be wondering what's happening to Jon Farr.
Right.
And I was going to go on to me asking, like, if I hadn't read the books, do you think you'd still be following this show and be interested in what happens?
That's a very good question. I actually stumbled upon,
I don't think I'd be...
Sorry, go ahead, Guff.
I don't think I'd be that interested if I hadn't read the books, in all honesty. Because I know I guess it's hard to judge because I know what's coming and I'm constantly thinking about that instead of what's going on. But I don't know. It's early days, so we'll see. But I'm not really sure I'll be that interested.
Yeah, I think that's it. I was going to say, when you mentioned it was online, I gave it a quick Google, stumbled upon an independent article, and it rated the first episode, it was like 2 stars or something. And it was like, look, if you like the books, you're going to love it. But if you haven't seen the books, you're really going to struggle to keep up. And it's only the diehard Philip Pullman fans who are going to be really following and enjoying this at this point. And I don't know, I'd be interested, I would do a dinner party with my, with the housemates next week, and we'll see what they all think of it. I'd be interested to see what people think of it who haven't read the books, because I think you're probably right about that. It's very difficult to tell, really, isn't it? But
because Game of Thrones, like anyone could like that. Anyone would follow.
But at the same time, you come into the second season of Game of Thrones, you are like, what the hell's going on here? Like, I mean, I mean, it's when you watch it all in tandem, yeah, it's kind of easy to follow, but you have to pay attention. It's not going to spell these things out for you.
No, but the world is so much more engrossing. It's like you want to understand. This is the main thing I feel they failed. It's like you want to understand what everything is. I don't feel my brain trying to do that. I know what's going to happen, but I don't feel my brain wanting to unpack this world and wanting to find out how this world works, because they haven't.
So we already know how it works, don't we? We've already unpacked the worlds. If you're not in that position, yeah, I do get that. And it's definitely trying to do a Game of Thrones thing where they're not sort of giving anything away. They're not making it easy for the viewer. They're just following on with the plot, how they want to do it. They're not doing these recaps or this exposition that kind of makes it easier to grasp it, which I kind of like generally. But you're right. I think if they're doing that, they have to make the world unbelievably engaging, and they have to make it something that you want to learn about and you want to figure out on your own terms, if they're not going to spoon feed it to you,
Yeah, and at times they still are spoon feeding a little bit.
But, yeah, they are. Yeah, they do.
No, but it is good, and I don't want to hate on it, and I'm still torn in the middle, to be honest, overall. But I did think that it was a strong premiere. I think the things that they have to get right, they are on the most part getting right.
That's exactly it. Yeah, all the really essential stuff I think they've got, and Lyra is the most important thing. I think Lyra they've got pretty much bang on from the beginning. Her and Pam's relationship is great. Her and Will's relationship is great. Will's brilliant. Like, though, that's really the main essentials of the show, right? And Mrs. Coulter and Lord Asriel are also fantastic. So, character-wise, I think they've done really well. And to me, that's like, I hope that will carry the show. We'll see.
It's a bit like the early Marvel films, though, where you're like, the character, the main hero is good, but is the film that good? I felt that in a lot of the early Marvel films.
Yeah, a lot of the early Marvel films aren't very good, to be honest. And we all, always going to enjoy them because we like the Marvel films. But in reality, if you're not into your Marvel, a lot of people think most of the first phase films are pretty shit, to be honest. Iron Man.
So it's that feeling. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know. I can't speak for people who are watching it and haven't read the books. And I'm sure there are them because it's on BBC and it's like a big show. But yeah, I don't know. But overall, I think is good.
Yeah.
When I shut my brain off, I enjoyed that. I looked at the time thinking it'd be like 20 minutes of the show, and it'd been nearly the whole show. It went so quick.
I really enjoyed the first season as well. Yeah. And like I say, I don't know if that's because I love the book so much, but the whole of the first season I really enjoyed. And that last episode as well, I wasn't bored by it at all. I was totally engaged. So they're doing it for me. I mean, yeah, like I say, it's an 8 out of 10 for me, that first episode. And probably really what I'd give the first season, maybe the first season 7.
That episode's still a 7 for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's got
I can understand.
It's got a job to do still, but like the books get better, so the show's going to get better, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Well, yeah. Any final words before it goes? Any hopes for future episodes? Any things left to say?
Oh, that's okay. I mean, it'd be nice to see how they do with Mary Malone. That would be another really important part of the show because she's absolutely essential. Which I guess we're going to see probably like epi 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, they might even bring her in sooner. You never know.
Yeah, possibly. I feel like they get a bit lost before they get back to Will's world, but I can't quite remember, to be honest. And again, I'm loving the Magisterium shit. The Magisterium shit is amazing. I think they've absolutely knocked it out of the park, which is the one thing, it's the main thing the film completely failed to do, right? And I really think all the Magisterium stuff is great. They're all like terrifying and they're all a little bit complex. They're all kind of driven by different things.
Yeah, they need to expand it a little bit more still for me. because it is still vague conversations.
Right.
It feels like they're too scared to reveal too much information, and it does get in the way of some of the conversations these people have with each other. That being said, I do think, yeah, the scenes are acted well, and they get the vibe and the fear of the Magisterium.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do think there needs to be more explaining. Oh, Cuff's disappeared.
Oh no.
But you know, I do think generally there needs to be more explaining. I mean, I was going to ask Cuff to give a final goodbye. Yeah. Well, in which case, yeah, let's call it, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, so tea at mine next week, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it. Tea party next week is that materials.
Party next week. Sounds great.
Well, yeah. Well, I will just close it off now then. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
to
that sounds
Doobies
good.
N Movies. Bless.